Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The collapse, the comeback, and the secret that could burn it all down. Eric Forrester just made the most heartbreaking decision of his life, and the shockwaves are only beginning. Nobody saw it coming, or maybe everyone did and nobody wanted to say it out loud. In the days following Eric Forrester's terrifying health scare, the halls of the Forrester mansion felt different, quieter, heavier. The kind of quiet that settles after something irreversible has happened and everyone is still pretending it hasn't. Hospital monitors had been replaced by hushed conversations. Medical staff had come and gone. But the real crisis wasn't happening in any hospital room. It was happening inside Eric himself. The man who had built an empire from nothing, who had draped the world's most beautiful women in couture and turned a family name into a global dynasty, looked tired. Not the tired that a good night's sleep fixes, something deeper, something that lives behind the eyes and doesn't leave no matter how much you rest. Donna had seen it for weeks. She'd been pleading, begging in that soft, desperate way she had, her voice never rising above a whisper because she knew that raising it would only make him dig in harder. You are going to kill yourself for a business that will survive without you. Eric had dismissed those words every single time, until now. Because now something had cracked open inside him. The confrontation between Ridge and Brooke hadn't just erupted, it had detonated. Accusations of betrayal, of manipulation, of family loyalty twisted beyond recognition. And somewhere in the middle of all that wreckage, Eric had stood there and realized something devastating. He had spent so many years proving himself that he had forgotten to actually live. The decision came quietly, the way the most earth-shattering decisions often do. No dramatic announcement, no press release, just Eric sitting with Donna, telling her that he refused to spend whatever years he had left fighting his own body and his own blood simultaneously. "I'm not surrendering," he told her. "I'm choosing. Choosing life over legacy, choosing presence over prestige, choosing to sit with his grandchildren, to laugh at dinner tables, to watch sunsets without mentally calculating next season's color palette." It was the bravest thing Eric Forrester had ever done, and it broke him a little to do it. Donna wept with relief. Ridge went pale. Brooke stood in conflicted silence, cycling through emotions she couldn't quite name. The fashion world would mourn the retirement of a legend. The Forrester family would have to restructure everything they thought they knew. But none of them, not one, was hit harder than Katie Logan. Katie had built her entire vision around Eric's name. His involvement wasn't just symbolic, it was structural. His credibility made investors lean forward. His artistry made buyers take the venture seriously. His presence alone communicated that this wasn't some vanity project, it was the real thing. Without Eric, that entire scaffolding shook violently. She held it together in front of him, smiled, said all the right things about understanding and respecting his decision, but the moment she was alone, the composure shattered. The future she had mapped out in meticulous detail had collapsed overnight, and the ground beneath her feet felt suddenly, terrifyingly unstable. For a long, dark moment, it looked like everything might be over before it ever truly began. Then Katie remembered a conversation she had almost forgotten. Weeks earlier, tucked into a corner of an industry event, she had spoken with D. Sharp, Deacon's son, young, overlooked, quietly burning with ambition that the industry had never bothered to acknowledge. He'd been working around the fringes of Forrester Creations long enough to understand the architecture of greatness without ever being invited inside it. The industry had dismissed him before he'd ever had a proper chance to speak. But Katie had listened, and what she heard underneath the rough edges and the inexperience was something you genuinely cannot manufacture. Hunger. She called him. Dee was stunned when the offer landed. Lead designer, a real platform, a real chance. He was honest with her. He didn't have the resume, didn't have the polish, didn't have the pedigree. What he had were ideas that kept him up at night and a point of view that belonged entirely to him. Katie said that was enough to start. What she didn't know yet, what would eventually surface like a fault line cracking open beneath polished marble floors, was the secret Dee had been carrying. During his time orbiting Forrester Creations, Dee had done something reckless. Resourceful, depending on who you asked, but undeniably reckless. He had secretly photographed Thomas Forrester's design work. Not to steal, he told himself, but to study. To break down the anatomy of high fashion, the way a musician transcribes songs to understand chord structure, silhouettes, seaming, the invisible engineering beneath the beauty. Those images had become his unofficial curriculum, his private masterclass. Now, as his early sketches began taking shape, Katie saw something remarkable. Not imitation, but reinterpretation. Dee was learning the language of couture and attempting to speak it in his own voice, raw, imperfect, but unmistakably alive. She could see the potential. She could also see the explosion waiting to happen. Because if Ridge Forrester ever discovered that the young upstart powering Katie's fashion house had been secretly studying Thomas's work through unauthorized photographs, the word theft would be the kindest thing anyone would say. Thomas would take it as a personal violation, Brooke would weaponize it instantly, and Katie's entire operation would be buried under an avalanche of accusations before it ever showed the world what it could become. The dream was still alive, but it was standing directly on top of a ticking bomb, and the clock was already running.